Alrighty, so we're here at my absolute mess of a basement, and we've been filming over here before with our budget cluster build. Well, unfortunately, in the last couple of days, we experienced a major failure with one of our cheap systems that we clustered with, which is actually the system that is off camera, but it's down here, and we call that system the Cube. You've seen us work with that many times in Proxmox tutorials and stuff. Well, that system finally just lost its power supply. I think that power supply in that system is 7, 8, maybe even 10 years old. I'm not exactly sure. It goes back a long history with me to even when I was in college. So it's kind of a sad moment for us that that system lost, but we've had it running pretty steady now for 4 or 5 years, running home tasks. Anyways, that kind of drove us in a different direction as we were having a hard time logging in and getting some stuff working to be able to pivot some of our routing capabilities up into the other 2 machines of the cluster. I know it kind of defeats the purpose of the cluster, but we had done some bad design overall on that cluster here for the house, and we just hit a lot of limitations. So I had to pivot and bring us over to this project. Now, this project was planned for later in the year, and it was definitely not planned to look like a sea of wires like it is right now, but we needed to fire this up as quickly as possible. So you've seen me do some unboxing on both this unit here, which this is actually the PoE injector for the EAP225 that we unboxed in our last release video, and this 5-port managed switch right here that we unboxed in the previous video. Now, these are the 2 unboxings that we've ever done, and although the actual access point, the EAP225, didn't get the most amount of traffic, it's actually one of the most exciting devices that I've used in a long time for me. Now, in order to get VLANs and other wireless virtual SSIDs and stuff on a wireless device, in the past, at any form of budget, we'd have to use something like this. This is a Linksys router. I think it's a WRT160N or something like that. But anyways, and then we'd have to flash a custom firmware on it called DDWRT. I think there's OpenWRT and Tomato and a few others that also support some of this. But that would activate a lot of those hidden features inside a device like this. And it worked. And it worked great when it was working. But there was a lot of extra work. Now, the EAP225, right out of the box, supported VLANs and virtual SSIDs. So there wasn't a lot of configuration required. We worked through the web console and just configured what we wanted. There's no trying to mess with bridges and pass things through. It was very, very straightforward. It was something that I like to say that my mother could do. And no insult to my mother. She's a very, very intelligent person, but she's not as tech savvy as somebody like me. Anyways, so that was a very exciting moment, and I'm looking forward. I've actually ordered another EAP225 for our new network build out here for the house, which definitely isn't going to be this cluster here. Now, this cluster at any given time was drawing around 250 watts, and that was idled down. If we put work to it, we would pick up somewhere around 300, 400 watts. Now, this entire build out right here, including our Synology NAS, this draws 31 watts. Now, these lights here aren't counted in that. I did all the actual power calculations and checks with the power meter and stuff with them turned off. Unfortunately, they kind of just got bridged in there for the moment. I didn't have a good place to put our house plants as we're doing more construction. And you're going to see some of that in an upcoming video. We actually have a new office to work in, a brand new office. We're not going to be working out of our basement or filming anymore. As we get ready to do one of our other projects, we'll have a couple of months where we're filming in a different room, but that'll be awesome. I'm super excited to have the brand new office. Anyways, and then this switch was stupid simple to configure. Now this box here is actually a pfSense SG-1000. So if you've been following any of the Netgate devices, we now have the SG-1100. This definitely doesn't have the throughput of the SG-1100, and I actually worry about it doing like VPN work, and that's why for this particular house and this particular location, with what goes on long term and what I want to do even before we commit to our next step of plans, we're going to need to probably repurpose one of these computers from the cluster, give it a new Ethernet card, and we're probably going to pull our 8-port managed switch here in with, I'm hoping, an SFP Plus and a 10 gig adapter for that, but we might go 2.5. I'm not entirely sure where we're going there. I did order a new EAP225 for this network, and I'm super excited. But this is what allows us here, being pfSense, with a managed switch, to push out VLANs. So we're able to have 4 in our case, but even more different networks inside the house with all kinds of different traffic shaping rules. So our IoT devices don't see our computers, and our computers can't see our TV devices and whatnot. And then we're able to pass through storage in certain ways to certain points in the house. Even particular shares, I've found a little bit of a configuration to get around it. It's a little bit hacky, and I don't know how well I like it, but I have been able to do it. And so that's all managed by the pfSense box. So I just kind of wanted to show you here. We've done a few unboxings here, and I know we haven't done as many videos as we used to do. So if any of you are wondering, that's what's going on. Now, the awesome thing, not counting this, which this was actually another awesome eBay purchase. So I bought this with no discs in it, so just the case and everything else used, off of eBay for like $75. So we have $75 in this device. If I remember right, this was sub $30. Now, don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. It might be a little bit more, but I think it was sub $30 we paid for this. And the EAP225 I actually just ordered moments ago. That was $59 off eBay, or Amazon rather. So, you know, we have less money wrapped up here in this setup than we would a traditional high-end router, home-grade router. With some limitations through throughput, these will probably only do up to a 400 megabit internet connection without being your bottleneck. That's why they were phased out and the new 1100s came in. But this was $75 on eBay. Your 1100 is somewhere around $180 if you were to buy it from Netgate. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, here's our network build out. And look forward or pay attention to, if you're into pfSense, our new build out coming for this, which will be replacing this rack and kind of streamlining it, hopefully, which we're going to, again, implement the EAP225. We're going to reuse this managed switch. We're going to use one of these laptops. We're going to set up VLANs in that. I'm hoping that I can get the right USB adapter for this so that we're actually passing the USB adapter to pfSense instead of passing VLANs like we have done in past tutorials. I look forward to showing you how to actually set up VLANs and such inside of pfSense. That's only going to happen if I get the right USB adapter and I'm able to figure that out. But if we are, we're going to pass VLANs in. If not, Once that setup's set up, we're planning to take and wipe this clean and re-implement it entirely on video for you. So I'll show you how to set up the 4 different networks, how to work with the 1100. I might even show you a little bit about using the console port, because if you buy one of these used, you need to wipe it clean for yourself in order to be able to use. Now, in order to do that, if they have a password or anything on the web interface, you're going to have to use the USB console port. So you're going to have to install a serial driver on your system from, I think it was Silicon Labs or something, and actually use PuTTY to communicate with it and configure it so you can wipe it clean and start fresh with that. Anyways, little update on where our home network lab is here at the moment. I know it's definitely not as glamorous as even our budget cluster build that we did here, but I am definitely looking forward to some great things coming and sharing them with you, maybe at a slower pace than we did in the past. I've definitely a lot more busy in my life now than I used to be. And if you notice, this is just mounted on a board. And I did this real simple. Now, it's probably not the best way, but they're actually held on with screws, just sheetrock screws. That just kind of encapsulate them, and the heads stop it from pulling away. You got to be a little careful when you do it, but it does work. Anyways, have a good night.